Hello everyone, welcome back to Sparkles and Blessings. In today's episode, we're going to be doing story number 16. And it's kind of like the second part of story number 15 that I told about my regret about not going to see the Dalai Lama. So we're on to the next story. Story number 16 finds me at work. I worked afternoons at the post office processing mail. And one day I was standing alongside a female coworker, and we were talking about our children. And she told me that her daughter was in a children's choir, and that the choir had been invited to go and sing in front of the Dalai Lama. And I said, "How wonderful is that? Good for you." And then she said, no. She said she did not allow her daughter to participate because it was not in line with her daughter's Christian upbringing. And so I did a mental flip in my head, and before I could stop myself, I asked her, I said, "Do you understand what you've done?" I said, many, many years from now, your daughter's going to look back at that opportunity and think, what was my mother thinking when she didn't allow me to attend that be in the audience, see the Dalai Lama, participate. What a story that would have been for the rest of her life. And as an aside, this brings to mind my own upbringing. I grew up, me and my cousins, we all grew up in a very strict German Baptist upbringing, and we were never ever told, no, you can't go to that movie because there's a witch, or no, you can't see that because there's a spell being cast, or everything was basically, well, and then again, that was the 60s. I'm talking about movies like Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, and the like. Bewitched. Bewitched was out there. Genie was out there. And my family, I'm grateful that the people around me understood that these kinds of things doesn't supersede what we are taught, in our morals and in our lessons. It's imagination, it's story. So I was always very grateful to my aunts and my uncles, my mother and my father. As I was thinking through this storyline, I remembered, was there ever a time that I had been totally censored from my television set or from a program? And I think the closest I ever came was in Cleveland, Ohio, where I was spending some time with my cousins. And I told her, I don't know what night it was on, but I said, "Oh, Star Trek's on." I was eight, maybe 9 years old. And she's, and and then I went up to my aunt and I said, "Is it true that you don't let you don't let my cousins watch Star Trek?" And she says, "That's right. I don't see the need to let them watch somebody else's love affair." And this is coming from an aunt, that my Auntie Victoria, my Aunt Victoria, always so prim and proper. To hear her say that and think back on it now, it just gives me a chuckle. And I guess that's what stories are all about. So, thank you to my aunts and uncles for not ever censoring me. And my love to all my cousins and my friends out there. And I want to thank you for joining me for story number 16. Join me again for story number 17. Ducky out.